Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And the creator of Deadpool is calling for all of Marvel Comics executives to be fired. Fire them all. Clean house.
You have to talk about the comics end, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to be honest. I agree. We've been covering, we haven't been covering comics as much as we used to, but, look at what's going on with Spider-Man. Look at how, Ultimate Spider-Man's outselling Amazing Spider-Man. Look at how they dropped the ball with the X-Men reboot, and just look at the utter state of Marvel Comics. And I think he's right. I mean, Marvel Comics just don't feel like themselves, and they haven't for a very long time. And Marvel used to be like the edgier alternative to DC, and they used to always be fresh and exciting, and they're just not. It's just stale and boring. You have
to wonder too how much Disney plays into it.
Yeah, there's that too. We'll bring that up because that might actually, and we've theorized before that, at least in the situation with Spider-Man, that Disney might be keeping Peter Parker a teenager forever, because that's where they want him to sell Spider-Man merch and cartoon shows and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You will get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Now, bit of a disclaimer here. Rob Liefeld is kind of going to war with Marvel in general because he doesn't like Kevin Feige very much. So there is that to consider, but he's not wrong about the state of Marvel Comics. We've been talking about, fans, lots of readers have been talking about, and the sales speak for themselves. It's not good.
No, it's not great. But I do think that sometimes it's because Disney wants to control everything because they're more worried about their MCU than they are about the comics.
Maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's Mickey Mouse. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows why they do what they do. So this comes from comicbookmovie.com, and they're talking about a tweet. And I saw his tweet the other day, and it blew up. It went all over the place. And apparently he followed up with a podcast episode, which I have not had a chance to listen to yet, talking about all the problems with the X-Men books, which of course he would know about because he built his career off of X-Men and X-Men adjacent characters. Deadpool creator calls for Marvel Comics executives to be fired after severing ties with Marvel in 2024. After completing his work on the Deadpool team-up, he's been somewhat openly critical toward Marvel Comics. On his podcast, he spoke very openly about his critiques and opinions on the current state of the X-Men comics. It's not the X-Men. I don't know what the hell is going on with the X-Men, but it's not the X-Men. And they refuse to...
the X-persons.
The X-peoples. They refused to go back to what worked in the 90s. They refuse. Same with Spider-Man. They won't get Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together again.
Again, I think this is Disney's interference as well, because
it might be.
Before Disney owned it, they could go and do stuff, but now Disney owns it. They're more worried about their movies than they are, and their shows than they are the comics. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, because having the X-Men just, sit around an island with a giant tree, bringing each other back to life for 5-6 years.
Right.
No stakes whatsoever.
And prom.
Having orgies.
Mutant
prom, orgies on the moon, whatever the hell was going on, because that's a lot. That's a great movie series. Like, people are going to love to see that instead of the X-Men. Like,
there's a lot of people who probably go watch Orgy on the Moon,
Orgy on the Moon. All right. So now he's on X. Now he's stating his opinions like he tends to do. He said, and this is his original tweet, "The guys at the top of the executive suite in publishing have to go. Buckley, Bogart, Gabriel, these guys have no new moves. They're spent and tired, and it shows. Start over. My career has been across 7 editors-in-chief. I've seen it done way better by brighter and more focused minds."
It's probably true.
Yeah, I think Tom Brevoort needs to go for sure.
He's not listed there, but yes.
Yeah. Well, Doc actually said, Doc from Thinking Critical is like, yeah, Brevoort, there's no reason why Brevoort should still hold a job with his past decade of basically running everything he touches into the ground.
I think it's that, and I think, like I said, the mandates, but I also think he keeps, he does that thing where he's answering questions, and he just uses an opportunity to slam on anyone who doesn't agree with him. Yes. Also, which you'll find a trend today if you watch all our videos today of people with in charge of IPs running their damn mouths and alienating the audience. And once again, another example.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Brevoort, if he just would have kept his mouth shut and just, I mean, I personally, I'd probably fire him if he just kept, because at this point he's actually costing Marvel sales because he keeps doubling and tripling down on, Peter Parker and MJ are never going to get back together. Never,
he
never,
just
ever.
won't leave well enough alone.
And there's no good reason for it. Meanwhile, Ultimate Spider-Man is outselling their flagship title. Amazing Spider-Man is the flagship title of the entire Marvel comic book line, and the Ultimate comic is outselling it. Like that's embarrassing.
No, yeah,
right?
exactly.
It really is embarrassing. So they'll ruin that too. They'll ruin that just to make sure that the fans don't get what they want. Toxic chuds, fanboys. You need them. You need them though, don't you? Because when the chips are down, it's time for the swimsuit issue.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like
they're bringing that back because they need those people to come back. How do we get them back quick? Boobies,
titties, and then you know what they did to add insult to injury. MJ is wearing a Spider-Man bikini, but they won't get them back together. Like, what the hell, Mark? Like, you know where the money is. You just
she's not wearing a Paul bikini.
She's not wearing a Paul bikini. She has Paul's face on her.
Is that his goatee phone. Or is that something else?
Yeah, right. Anyway. All right. So yeah, he was talking about how he retired from Deadpool, whatever. I gotta see what the reactions are to this. Let's see what the quotes are like. 'Cause I'm sure people are probably, oh my God. So here we go. This guy here, this idiot who, helped co-create one of the most popular comic book characters in recent history. This idiot got his feelings hurt over not being invited to a party, has been trying to stay in the headlines ever since. He's been actually, who
is the person saying that? They have like 5 followers.
0 followers.
Oh, so it's literally a bot account type situation, like, to try to damage control.
David F. Smith, no lies detected. Cosmic Book News. I said this 10 plus years ago. Yeah. Actually, it's so weird. A lot of the publications now, like Cosmic Book News and Bounding into the Comics, the ones that they consider the alt-right, the right-wing blogs, they were just comic book news sites. Right. And then as soon as you start calling this stuff out, you became, an alt-right Nazi.
Right. Pretty much.
Because you weren't allowed to.
Fall in line or else.
Fall in line or else. Yeah. Rob says, can't emphasize this enough. Out of moves, nothing fresh to offer, more tricks than customers and retailers reject. A sea of derivatives, poor management of talent, start over. So I think I mentioned it before, but I know people don't actually watch our comic book videos, so I'll bring it up again. I had a chance to talk at length with Jim Shooter last year, and we had a good conversation. Very, very nice guy. I'm sure working for him, some people have these horror stories, but the vibe I get from him, because he's from Pittsburgh, is that he's basically
Yinzer.
He's a Yinzer, but he's a blue collar guy who was put in charge of making the comic book factory work, right? And there were a lot of people that didn't want to work, and a lot of people that wanted to do crazy ass things with other people's property
and money.
And that's it. And people, they always want to do these experimental things with these, whatever. And sometimes you have to, keep it fresh. You have to mix things up a little bit if it's not working. But if it's working, you don't break it.
No.
That's what I'm saying. You don't change your product line if it's working, if it's dependable. If Spider-Man is dependable, you don't just like break it just for the sake of breaking it, because then your sales are going to tank. And look at McDonald's with the Arch Deluxe, right? And the Arch Deluxe was actually, I thought it was okay. It was an acquired taste, but it didn't resonate with people. And that's kind of like all this stuff. Like you have to do what works for the most amount of people. And he's even like, there's no leadership. He said there's no leadership at Marvel. Shooter. And now he parted ways with Marvel years ago, started Valiant, and that was a whole thing. But yeah, he just like kept just slamming on it. He was like, there is no leadership at Marvel, none whatsoever. He said nobody's paying attention. He said DC to the same degree, but to some degree it's the same situation. But he's like, he can speak better about Marvel than could DC. But he's like, yeah, it's heartbreaking. He's like, it is what it is. But nobody there really seems to care anymore. They're just kind of coasting on fumes. Aaron says, expand this to Cebulski and Brevoort. Yeah, I think Brevoort has to go. Cebulski's keeping his head down because they called him out before.
He's gotten in trouble for, yeah.
Oh my God, Heidi McDonald. Whoa, I guess Rob doesn't want to work for Marvel again.
Oh my God, Heidi McDonald, allegedly part of the Whisper Network. Just,
Oh my God, guys.
No one cares. Like, oh my God. I just, whatever, Heidi. No one listens to you anymore. Honestly, they just don't.
Yeah. I mean,
go back to your, alleged attempted cancellations of call today.
Cosmic Book News and Aaron Sparrow got more likes than Heidi McDonald.
Oh, it doesn't take much, to be fair.
It doesn't take much. Well, she's over.
Again, no one listens to Heidi McDonald except for Heidi McDonald.
So yeah, I mean, he's got I got to listen to this. He's basically talking about how broken the X-Men are, but I think
honestly, he doesn't have much engagement in it either.
No, he actually gets a lot of listens, I guess, in the podcast. A lot of comments.
No, but I mean on X.
Yeah. X is weird. Like, well, no, I think it's because it's an external link. Anytime you link to anything that's not native to X, they kind of throttle it. But
that's true.
Yeah, he knows what's up. So the old guard, the guys have been there for decades. They've been doing this for decades. They know what's up. They know what's wrong with comics. These guys could come in at any point in time and fix this shit. There's just no incentive to. They're not allowed to. One, and two, it's probably not financially viable for them to, because we know the page rates and everything have dropped off a cliff. And what's the most you're going to get out of it? Like, oh, I'm going to come in and fix Marvel and get, a couple $1,000s and maybe get invited to a movie premiere, and I probably have to fly myself to it.
I was saying a cookie, but okay.
And a cookie. I get a cookie and a pat on the head from Mickey Mouse. It's like, what's
Disney,
the point?
It's a cupcake, but yeah.
Yeah. What's the point? Or you could go out on your own and you could hopefully come up with the next, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Walking Dead or something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So what's the incentive? Where's the incentive? So I think we have a lot of issues here where the talent's not there and the people that are in charge just don't give a shit. They're just biding their time.
But again, like I said, I think part of it, though, the choices are their hands are tied because of Mickey. And,
yep.
But instead of just like, they don't have to just say that either. So you think their go-to would just be like, stop talking about it. But no, Brevoort's out there like, deliberately trying to instigate stuff and get people to ask him so he can slap it down again and again. And it's like, but now they hate you. If it's not your decision, they hate you. If it is your decision, well, you're a dick, Yeah. So either way, just stop talking.
I think they should, my personal feeling on it with both Marvel and DC is stop publishing in-house, license the books out to a company that actually gives a shit, that is actually incentivized to care. Look at what happened with Transformers, and the licensee actually, if they're passionate about it, they can turn it into something great. They took Transformers and G.I. Joe away from IDW, gave it to Skybound. Skybound turned those books into like some of the best-selling books in the industry because they actually gave a shit. Give the X-Men to somebody who gives a shit. If you don't give a shit anymore, Marvel, give them to somebody else.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. We got to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.